illustrator, you can be like a up, down, up, down. The first one? Yeah, just a half down, half up. Like, with a warning, you know what I mean? Run down halfway and back up a couple of times. There you go. You can't use that one, but then everyone can kill the step up. But I don't know if you can show or flashlight, you can get people like, oh, this is but the first, it's like the master, and you get the first three. Oh, wait on the drum, just showed up.
I tried to center it. I think I went the other way too far, didn't I? I will probably end up.
There you go.
I'll probably end up dropping it down some anyway.
There's nothing up in the that border is constant.
Since they haven't started yet? Probably started. Everyone's down with the crowd. They get the crowd coming in.
Waiting on the drum. Here. First time was a lot of
They do the practice.
Like, others on the end, just sort of turn. It's like when the curve starts getting down, just turn and start walking. You will follow. Like, everybody watching the first. And if they're all like pushing up or down or whatever, if it's on the end, so just like, sort of just like, it's easy to watch your neighbor. Okay. Highlight them. Ready? Skip. Okay. Skip. Here we go.
Sir, are you part of the London press?
Yes.
I've got a story for you.
Name?
John Smith.
You're the one with the conspiracy theories about fairies.
Hear me out. You know, I'm walking along in the courtyard like I know what I'm stealing like food and jewellery and robbing the rich giving support, you know. And, you know, I see private witness. He sees me, you know, that ugly white jelly line. If you was in a flat, person in the flat would be like the ugliest person you've got. What? Say the I see him. He sees me, I'm running. booking it and I see a wall. I cried. I look over, it's all these ladies, tripping here, but tripping through the dancing. I don't know why, whatever, but they have wings.
Wings.
Yeah, nothing been called dancing. You have found.
You have
An unwanted fairy opera.
fairies?
Yeah, I approve. Yeah, this.
A stick.
Yeah, the fairy.
You mean to tell me that you want us to write about a secret society of fairies? Because you're repeating us late, you stole a stick.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, sir, but we have no need for your conspiracy theories and sticks for today.
You have to believe me. I saw my date. Tried to something. I knew it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Gilbert and Sullivan Homeschool players now present to you Iolanthe. Please keep the aisles clear as there will be movement in the aisles for this performance. Now sit back, relax, and prepare to enjoy the show. Thank you.
our queen, banished Iolanthe. Fairy rebels have not been what they were.
Iolanthe was the very life and soul of fairyland. Why, she wrote all our songs and arranged all our dances. We sing her songs and we trip her measures, but we don't enjoy ourselves.
To think that 25 years have elapsed since she was banished. What could she have done to have deserved so terrible a punishment?
Something awful! She married a mortal.
Is it injudicious to marry a mortal?
Injudicious? Why, that strikes at the roots of our whole fairy system. By our laws, the fairy who marries a mortal dies.
But Iolanthe didn't die.
No, because your queen, who loved her with a surpassing love, commuted her sentence to penal servitude for life on condition that she left her husband without a word of explanation, and never communicated with him again.
And that sentence of penal servitude she is working out now, on her head, at the bottom of that stream.
Yes, but when I banished her, I gave her all the pleasant places of the earth to dwell in. I'm sure I never intended that she should go to the bottom of the stream. It makes me perfectly wretched to think of the discomfort she must have undergone.
And think of the damp, and her dress was always so perfect.
And withdrawal. Oh, I shall never enjoy any peace of mind until I know why I left her to live above the cross. Then why not summon her and ask her? Why? Because if I set eyes on her, I should forgive her at once.
Then why not forgive her? 25 years. It's a long time.
And think how he loved her.
What was your love to mine? Why, she was invaluable to me. Who taught me to curl myself inside a buttercup? Iolanthe. Who taught me to swing upon a cobweb? Iolanthe. Who taught me to dive into the dewdrop, to nest in the nutshell, to gobble upon gossamer? Iolanthe.
She certainly did surprising things.
Oh, give her back to us, great queen! For your own sake, not for ours. Oh, I should be strong. But I am weak. I should be marble. But I am clay. Her punishment has been heavier than I intended. It did not mean that she should go and live among the frogs. Well, it shall be as you wish. It shall be as you wish. he doesn't even know of his father's existence. How old is he? 24.
24? Why, no one to look at you could think that you have a son of 24. But that is one of the advantages of being immortal. We never grow old. Is he pretty?
Oh, he's extremely pretty. But he's inclined to be dramatic.
Oh.
I see no objection in being dramatic. In moderation.
What?
He's an Arcadian shepherd, and he loves Phyllis, a ward in Chancery.
A mean shepherd, and he
Had
a fairy?
he's a fed, down to the waist, but his legs are mortal.
Dear me.
I have no reason to suppose that I'm more curious than other people, but I confess I should rather like to see a person who is very down to the waist, but whose legs are mortal. Nothing easier, for here he comes.
Good mother, good mother. By some means or other, pray banish your sorrow. With joy you're telling my bosom swells, so joy in the measure express the pleasure. For I'm to be married today, yes, I'm to be married today.
Yes, he's to be married today. Yes, he's to be married today. Then the Lord Chancellor has at last given you his consent to your marriage with his beautiful Lord Phyllis.
Not he indeed. To all my tearful prayers he answered, a shepherd lad is no fit helpmate for a ward of Chancery. I stood in court, and there I sang him songs of Arcadian, with flageolet accompaniment. In vain. At first he seemed amused, so did the bar, but quickly wearing my song and pipe, he bade me get out! A servile usherman, in crumpled bands and rusty bombazine, led me, still singing, into Chancery Lane. But I'll go no more. I'll marry her today, and break the upshot, be what it may. But who are these?
Oh, certainly rejoice with me, for my queen has pardoned me.
Pardon you? Mother, this is good news indeed.
And these ladies are my beloved sisters.
Your sisters, and they are my aunts.
A pleasant piece of news for your bride on her wedding day.
Hush, my bride knows nothing of my fairyland, and dare not tell her lest it frighten her. She thinks me mortal and prefers me so.
Your fairyland does not seem to have done you much good.
Much good, my dear aunt. It's the curse of my existence. What's the use of being half a fairy? My body can creep through a keyhole, but what's the good of that when my legs are left kicking behind? I can make myself invisible, down to the waist, but that's no use when my legs remain exposed to view. My brain is a fairy brain, but from the waist downward, I'm a gibbering idiot. My upper half is immortal, but my lower half grows older every day, and someday or another must die of old age. Now, what's to become of my upper half when I bury my lower half? I really don't know.
I see your difficulty, but with that fairy brain, you should seek an intellectual sphere of action. Let me see. I've a furrow and two at my disposal. How would you like to go into Parliament? A fairy member? Oh, that would be delightful.
I'm afraid I should do no good there. You see, down to the waist, I'm a Tory of the most determined description. But my legs are a couple of confounded radicals, and on a division, they'd be sure to take me into the wrong body. You see, they're 2 to 1, which is a strong word to majority.
Don't let that distress you. You shall be returned as a liberal conservative. And your legs shall be our peculiar care.
I see your majesty does not do things by half.
No, we are fairies down to the feet.
You may even fall in love with the Lord Chancellor himself at that time.
Yes, he's a clean old gentleman.
As it were, half of the House of Lords are sighing at your feet.
The House of Lords are certainly extremely attentive.
Attentive? I should think they were. Why did 5 and 20 liberal peers come down to shoot over your grass plot last autumn? It couldn't have been the sparrows. Why did 5 and 3 conservative peers come down to fish in your pond? Don't tell me it was the goldfish. No! No. Delays are dangerous. Besides, if we're to be married, the sooner the better.
law's a true embodiment of everything that's excellent. It has no kind of fault or flaw, and I, my lords, embody the law. The constitutional guardian I of pretty young wards in Chancery, all very agreeable girls, and none are over the age of 21. A pleasant occupation for a rather susceptible Chancellor. Although the compliment implied inflates me with legitimate pride, it nevertheless can't be denied. It has its inconvenient side. For I'm not so old, and I'm not so plain, and I'm quite prepared to marry again. But there'd be the deuce to pay with the lords if I fell in love with one of my wards. Which rather tries my temper, for I'm such a susceptible Chancellor. And everyone who'd marry a ward must come to me for my accord, and in my court I sit all day giving agreeable girls away. With one for him, and one for he, and one for you, and one for he, and one for thou, and one for thee. But never, never one for me. Which is exasperating for a highly susceptible Chancellor. Which is exasperating for a highly susceptible Chancellor.
And now, my lords, to the business of the day.
By all means, Phyllis, who is a ward of court, has so powerfully affected your lordships that you have appealed to me in a body to give her to whichever one of you she may think proper to select. And the noble lord has gone to a cottage to request her immediate attendance. Immediate. It would be idle to deny that I myself have the misfortune of being singularly attracted by this young person. My regard for her is rapidly undermining my constitution. 3 months ago, I was a stout man. I need say no more. If I could reconcile it with my duty, I should unhesitatingly award her to myself. For I can conscientiously say, I know no man who is so well fitted to render her exceptionally happy. Exceptionally happy? But as such an award would be open to misconstruction. At any personal inconvenience, I waive my claim.
My lord, I desire on part of this house to express its sincere sympathy with your lordship's most painful position.
I thank your lordships. The feelings of a Lord Chancellor who is in love with the ward of court are not to be envied. What is his position? Can he give his own consent to his own marriage with his own ward? Can he marry his own ward without his own consent? And if he marry his own ward without his own consent, can he commit himself for contempt of his own court? And if he commit himself for contempt of his own court, can he appear by counsel before himself to move for arrest of his own judgment? Ah, my lords, it is indeed painful to have to sit upon a woolsack which is stuffed with such thorns as these.
My lords, I have much pleasure in announcing that I have succeeded in inducing the young person to present herself at the bar of this house.
rapture, how beautiful, how gentle, how dutiful.
Of all the young ladies I know, these pretty young ladies, the fairest, her lips have the rosiest show, her eyes are the richest and rarest, her origin's lowly, it's true, but of birth and position I've plenty. I've grammar and spelling for 2, and blood and behavior for 20. Her origin's lowly, it's true, I've grammar and spelling for 2,
Of birth and position I've plenty,
with blood and behavior for 20. Of position I've plenty, with blood and behavior for 20. Though the views of the house have diverged on every conceivable notion, all questions of party are merged in a frenzy of love and devotion. If you ask us distinctly to say what party we claim to belong to, we reply without doubt or delay, the party we're singing this song to. If you ask us distinctly to say, we reply without doubt or delay, the party we claim to belong to is the party we're singing this song to. The party we claim to belong to is the party we're singing this song to.
I'm very much pained to refuse, but I'll stick to my types and my timbers. I can spell all the words that I use, and my grammar's as good as my neighbors. As for birth, I was born like the rest. My behavior is rustic but haughty, and I know what to turn for the best when I want to particular party.
Conversation is none of the best, I suppose. She was born like the rest. She knows what to look for hearty when she wants a particular party. She knows where to look
Whenever I want.
for her party. She knows where to look for her party.
They tempt me not to rank, I'll not be bound. In lowly cart alone is virtue found.
No, no, indeed, high rank will never hurt you.
The peerage is not destitute of virtue.
Spurn not the nobly born with love affected, nor treat with virtuous scorn the well-connected. High rank involves no shame, we boast an equal claim, with him of humble rank to be respected. Blue blood, when virtuous love is sought, thy power is not, rotating from the flood, blue blood, blue blood.
When virtuous love is sought, thy power is not, though dating from the flood, blue blood, blue blood.
Spare us the bitter pain of stern denials, nor with low-born disdain augment our trials. Touch just as pure and fair, may beaten Belgrade Square, as in the lowly air are 7 dials. Blue blood, of what avail art thou to serve us now, though dating from the flood, blue blood, blue blood.
Of what avail art thou to serve us now, though dating from the flood, blue blood, blue blood.
My lords, it may not be. With grief my heart is riven. You waste your time on me. For my heart is given. Given? Yes, given.
And who has dared to brave our high displeasure, and thus defy our definite command?
'Tis I, young Strephon, mine this priceless treasure. Against the world, I claim my darling's hand. A shepherd I,
A shepherd he,
of Arcady,
of Arcady,
betrothed are we,
betrothed are they,
and mean to be
espoused
espoused
today. A shepherd he, of Arcady, a shepherd he, of Arcady, betrothed are they, and mean to be espoused today. Neath this law, worse than stab of dagger, though we know, meant to really stagger in each heart. Proud are we innately, let's depart, dignified and stately, let's depart, dignified and stately, 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 dignified and stately.
have to offer for having disobeyed an order from the court of Chancery.
My lord, I know no courts of Chancery. I go by nature's acts of parliament. The bees, the breeze, the seas, the rooks, the brooks, the gales, the vales, the fountains, and the mountains cry, "You love this maiden, take her, we command you." 'Tis writ in heaven by the bright barbed dart that leaps forth into lurid light from each grim thundercloud. The very rain pours forth her sad and sudden sympathy. When chorus to nature bids me, "Take my love," shall I reply, "Nay, but a certain Chancellor forbids it." Sir, you are England's Lord High Chancellor, but are you Chancellor of birds and trees, King of the winds and Prince of the thunderclouds?
No. It's a nice point. I don't know if I've ever met it before. But my difficulty is that at present there is no evidence before the court that courtist nature has interested herself in the matter.
No evidence? You have my word for it. I tell you, she bade me to take my love.
Ah, my good sir, you mustn't tell us what she told you. That's not evidence. Now, an affidavit from a thunderstorm, or a word and oath from a heavy shower. Now that would do with all the attention they deserve.
And have you the heart to apply the prosaic rules of evidence to a case which bubbles over with poetic emotion?
Distinctly. I've always kept my duties strictly before my eyes, and it is to that fact that I owe my advancement to my present distinguished position. When I went to the bar as a very young man, said I to myself, said I, I'll work on a new and original plan. Said I to myself, said I, I'll never assume that a rogue or a thief is a gentleman worthy implicit belief because his attorney has sent me a brief. Said I to myself, said I. Ere I go into court, I will read my brief through, said I to myself, said I, and I'll never take work I'm unable to do, said I to myself, said I. My learned profession I'll never disgrace by taking a fee with a grin on my face when I haven't been there to attend to the case, said I to myself, said I. I'll never throw dust in a juryman's eye, said I to myself, said I. Or hoodwink a judge who is not overwise, said I to myself, said I. Or assume that the witness is summoned in force, an exchequer, Queen's Bench, come and please or divorce, have perjured themselves as a matter of course, said I to myself, said I. In other professions in which men engage, said I to myself, said I, the army, the navy, the church, and the state, said I to myself, said I, professional license if carried too far, the chance of promotion will certainly mar, and I fancy the rule might apply to the bar, said I to myself, said I.
Phyllis, to be taken from you just as I was on the point of making you my own. Oh, it's too much. It's too much.
My son, tears. And on his wedding day.
My wedding day? Oh, mother, weep with me, for the law has interposed between us, and the Lord Chancellor has separated us forever.
The Lord Chancellor? Oh, if he did but know.
If he did but know what?
No matter. The Lord Chancellor has no power over you. Remember, you are half a fairy, and you can defy him. Down to the waist.
Yes, but from the waist downward, he can commit me to prison for years. To what avail is it that my body's free if my legs are working out 7 years penal servitude?
True, but take heart. Our queen has offered you her special protection. I will go to her and plead your peculiar case before her.
My beloved mother, how can I repay the debt I owe you?
Darkly looms the day, and all is dull and gray. To chase the gloom away, on thee I'll call.
What was that?
I think I heard him say that on a rainy day, to while the time away, on her he called.
Think you heard her say that on a rainy day, to while the time away, on her he called.
When tempest wrecked thy bark, and all is drear and dark, if thou should need an heart, I'll give thee one. What was that?
I heard the minx remark she'd meet him after dark inside St. James's Park and give him one.
We heard the minx remark she'd meet him after dark inside St. James's Park and give him one.
The prospect's not so bad, my heart so sore and sad, may very soon be glad I saw her son. For when the sky is dark and tempest wrecks thy spark, if he should need an heart, shall give me one.
I give him one, give him
Oh, shameless one, trample me, do not endeavor they fall to deceive when we parted forever. I worshipped him blindly, he worships another.
Attend to me kindly, this lady's my mother.
This lady's his what?
This lady's my mother.
This lady's his what?
He says she's his mother.
What means this mirth unseemly that shakes the listening earth?
The joke is good extremely and justifies our birth. This gentleman is seen with a maid of 17 in a taking of his dolce far niente, and wonders he the chief, for he'd asked us to believe she's his mother, and he's nearly 25.
Recollect yourself, I pray, and be careful what you said, as the ancient Romans said, Festina lente. But I really do not see how so young a girl could be the mother of a man of 25.
My lord, of evidence I have no dearth. She has been my mother from my birth. In babyhood upon her lap I lay, with infant food she moistened my clay. Had she withheld the succor she supplied, by hunger quelled your Strephon might have died.
Had that refreshment been denied, indeed our Strephon might have died.
Had that refreshment been denied, indeed our Strephon might have died.
But as she's not his mother, it appears, why weep these hot, unnecessary tears? And by what law should we so joyously rejoice because our Strephon did not die? Oh, because our Strephon did not die.
That's very true, let's bind our eye, because our Strephon did not die.
The traitorous one, forever we must part. To one of you, my lords, I give my heart.
Oh, rapture!
Hear me, Phyllis.
Oh, rapture!
Ere you leave me,
You did deceive me.
hear me, Phyllis.
You did deceive me.
Not a word, you did deceive her.
For riches and rank I do not love, the pleasures of false and vain. I gave up the love of a lordly throne for the love of a simple swain. But now that simple swain's untrue, with sorrowful heart I turn to you. A heart that's aching, quaking, breaking. A sorrowful heart's I want to do. The riches and rank that you before are the only baits you use. So the richest and rankiest of your all, my sorrowful heart shall choose. As none so noble, none so rich, as a couple of lords I'll find on each. My heart that's aching, quaking, breaking. For one of you two, and I don't care which. To you I give my heart, so which?
To which?
I do not care. To you I yield, it is my due.
To whom?
I'm not aware. I'm yours for life, and you my true.
She's whose?
That's your affair. I'll be a cow to show I'm not.
Of what?
I do not care.
Lucky little lady, Strephon's lot is shady. Breakers in his Bible, Countess is the title, yes, Countess, Countess, the title, the title. But of what? I'm not aware, not of what, I'm not aware.
Can I inactive see my fortunes fade? No, no. No, no. Mighty protectress, hasten to my aid.
Nobody knows why you're in. Why you want us, we don't know, but you summoned us, and so enter all the little fairies to their usual tripping measure. To oblige you all Arcadians, tell us, pray, what is your pleasure?
The lady of my love has got me talking to another.
Oh, fine, our Strephon is a rogue.
I tell her very plainly that the lady is my mother.
Taradiddle, on our leg.
She won't believe my statement and declares we must be parted, because on a career of double dealing I have started. She gives herself to one of these and leaves me broken-hearted.
Taradiddle, on our leg.
How cruel was to separate two lovers from each other. Oh, fine, our Strephon's not a rogue. You've done him any justice, for the lady is his mother. Taradiddle, on our leg.
That fable prat had served its term as well as any other. I didn't see her face, but if they followed one another, and she's but 17, I don't believe it was his mother. Taradiddle.
On our leg.
I have often had a use for a thoroughbred excuse of a son in which is English 40 pence, hey. But of all I ever heard, this is much the most absurd, for she's 17 and he is 5 and 20.
For she is 17 and he is only 5 and 20.
Oh, fine, our Strephon is a rogue.
Now listen to me, for this paradox will be carried over dear Doc and Trotty Chente. Her age upon the date of his birth is minus 8. Is she 17 and he is 5 and 20?
She is 17 and he is only 5 and 20.
To
This is mud, this is not a bit of folly. Oh, fine, I'll show you there's a row. Perhaps it's pretty saddle and it's very melancholy. Taradiddle, tall, long way. I wouldn't say a word that could be reckoned as injurious, but to find a mother younger than her son is very curious. And that's the kind of mother that is usually spurious. Taradiddle, tall, long way. Go away, madam, I should say, madam, you display, madam, shocking taste. It is rude, madam, to intrude, madam, with your brood, madam, pretty face. You come here, madam, interfere, madam, with a pair, madam, I am one. Not aware, madam, what you dare, madam, to take care, madam, and be gone.
Let us say, madam, I should say, madam, they display, madam, shocking taste. It is rude, madam, to allude, madam, to improve, madam, with taste. We don't fear, madam, any care, madam, for my dear, madam, this is one. You will stare, madam, unaware, madam, when you dare, madam, when they call.
These puny mortals, I will launch from fairy portals all the most terrific wonders in my own world of wonders. Just they launch terrific wonders, how would there be magic wonders?
Go away, madam, I should say, madam, they display, madam, shocking taste. It is rude, madam, to intrude, madam, to your brood, madam, raise your face. Interfere, madam, interfere, madam, for my dear, madam, I have won. You're aware, madam, what you dare, madam, to declare, madam, what you dare, madam, and be gone. You're aware what you dare, so take care, and be gone. You're aware, madam, what you dare, madam, to declare, madam, and be gone. You're aware, madam, what you dare, to declare, madam, and be gone. Madam, you're aware, madam, what you dare, madam, to declare, madam, and be gone.
Oh, Chancellor unweary, it's highly necessary your tongue to teach respectful speech, your attitude to vary, your badinage so airy, your manner arbitrary, are out of place when face to face with an influential fairy.
We never knew we were talking to an influential fairy. A plague on this vagary. I'm in a nice quandary of hasty tone with dames unknown. I ought to be more chary. It seems that she's a fairy from Anderson's library, and I took her for the proprietor of a ladies' seminary. We took her for the proprietor of a ladies' seminary.
When next your houses do assemble, you may tremble. Our wrath, when gentlemen offend us, is tremendous.
They meet who under it are calling, doom appalling.
Take down our sentence as we speak it, and he shall wreak it.
Oh, spare us!
Henceforth Strephon cast away, crooks and pipes and ribbons so gay, flocks and herds that bleat and low, into Parliament you shall go.
Into Parliament he shall go, backed by a supreme authority. He'll command a large majority. Into Parliament, Parliament he shall go. Into Parliament he shall go. Into Parliament, Parliament Parliament he shall go, into Parliament he shall go.
In the parliamentary hive, Liberal or Conservative, Whig or Tory, I don't know, but into Parliament you shall go.
Into Parliament he shall go, backed by the supreme authority. He'll command a large majority. Into Parliament, Parliament, Parliament he shall go. Into Parliament he shall go. Into Parliament, Parliament, Parliament he shall go. Into Parliament he shall go.
Every bill and every measure that may gratify his pleasure, though your fury it arouses, shall be passed by both your houses.
Oh!
You shall sit, if he sees reason, through the grouse and salmon season.
No!
He shall end the cherished rights you enjoy on Friday nights.
No!
He shall prick that annual blister, marriage with deceased wife's sister.
Mercy!
Title shall ennoble then all the common council men.
Spare us!
Peers shall teem in Christendom, and a duke's exalted station be attainable by competitive examination.
Pursue all kinds of men, with angels who oppose our views of holy
century go to chase monotony. He exercises of his brains, that is, assuming that he's got any. Though never nurtured in the lap of luxury, yet I admonish you. I am an intellectual chap and think of things that would astonish you. I often think it's comical, ba-la-ha-la, ba-la-ha-la, that nature always does contrive, ba-la-ha-la-la, that every boy and every girl that's born into the world alive is either a little liberal or else a little conservative. Fa-la-ha-la, fa-la-ha-la, is either a little liberal or else a little conservative. Fa-la-la. Divide, if they've a brain and cerebellum too, they ought to leave that brain outside and vote just as their leaders tell them to. But then the prospect of a lot of dull and peace in close proximity, all thinking for themselves, is what no man can face with equanimity. Then let's rejoice with loud bala, bala hala, bala hala, that nature always does contrive, bala hala, that every boy and every girl that's born into the world alive is either a little liberal or else a little conservative. Fa-la-ha-la, fa-la-ha-la, is either a little liberal or else a little conservative. Fa-la-la.
I should think so. Why, this ridiculous protege of yours is playing the deuce with everything. Tonight is the second reading of his bill to throw the peerage open to competitive examination.
And he'll carry it too.
Carry it? Well, of course he will. He's a parliamentary Pickford. He carries everything.
Yes, if you please. That's our fault.
The deuce it is.
Yes, we influence the members and compel them to vote, just as he wishes them to.
It's our system, and it shortens your debates.
Well, but think what it all means. I do not so much mind for myself. But with a house of peers with no grandfathers worth mentioning, the country must go to the dogs.
I suppose it must.
I don't want to say a word against brains. I have a great respect for brains. I often wish I had some myself. But with a house of peers composed exclusively of persons of intellect, what's to become of the House of Commons?
I never thought of that.
This comes with women interfering with politics. It so happens that if there is an institution in all of Great Britain which is not susceptible to any improvement at all, it is the House of Peers. When Britain really ruled the waves in good Queen Bess's time, the House of Peers made no pretense to intellectual eminence or scholarship sublime. Yet Britain won her proudest days in good Queen Bess's glorious days. Yet Britain won her proudest days in good Queen Bess's glorious days.
Yes, Britain won her proudest days in good Queen Bess's glorious days.
When Wellington thrashed Bonaparte, as every child can tell, the House of Peers throughout the war did nothing in particular and did it very well. Yet Britain set the world ablaze in good King George's glorious days. Yet Britain set the world ablaze in good King George's glorious days.
Yes, Britain set the world ablaze in good King George's glorious days.
When Wellington thrashed Bonaparte, as every child can tell, the noble statesmen did not itch to interfere with matters which they do not understand. As bright will shine Great Britain's rays, as in King George's glorious days. As bright will shine Great Britain's rays, as in King George's glorious days.
As bright will shine Great Britain's rays,
As in King George's glorious days.
Charming persons, are they not?
Distinctly, for self-contained dignity combined with airy condescension. Give me a British representative here.
Then pray, stop this protege of yours before it's too late. Think of all the mischief you're doing.
But we can't stop him now. Aren't they lovely? Oh, why did you go and defy us, you great geese? Don't go. Your prayers we do not heed. Don't go. It's true we sigh, but don't suppose a tearful eye forgets
Don't go. It's true we sigh, but don't suppose a tearful eye forgiveness shows. Oh no, we're very cross indeed. Yes, very cross. Don't go.
Your disrespectful sneers, don't go. Call forth indignant tears, don't go. You break our laws, you are a foe. We cry because we hate you so. You know, you very wicked ears, you wicked ears. Don't go.
You break our laws, you are our foe. We cry because we hate you so. You know, you very wicked peers, you wicked peers. Don't go.
A disrespectful sneer, ha ha, draw forth indignant tears, ha ha, if that's the case, my dears.
Don't go.
We'll go.
Oh, shame, shame upon you! Isn't this your fidelity to the laws you are bound to obey? Know ye not that it is death to marry a mortal?
Yes, but it is not death to wish to marry a mortal.
If it were, you would have to execute us all. Oh, this is weakness. Subdue it!
We know it's weakness, but the weakness is so strong.
And we are not all as tough as you are.
Tough? Do you suppose that I am insensible to the effects of manly beauty? Look at that man. A perfect picture. You there. Who are you, sir?
Private Willis, B Company, 1st Grenadier Guards.
You're a very fine fellow, sir.
I am generally admired.
I can quite understand it. Now, here is a man whose physical attributes are simply godlike. That man has a most extraordinary effect upon me. If I yielded to a natural impulse, I should fall down and worship that man. But I mortify this inclination. I wrestle with it, and it lies beneath my feet. That is how I treat my regard for that man. Oh, foolish faith, think you because his bravery my bosom thaws, I disobey your fairy laws, because I fly in realms above, in tendency to fall in love, resemble I the amorous star, resemble I the amorous star. Oh, amorous star, type of Ovidius Naso, this heart of mine is soft as thine, although I dare not say so. This heart of mine is soft as thine, although I dare not say so. On fire that glows with
Captain Shaw, type of true love kept under, while thy brigade with cold cascade quench my great love, I wonder. While thy brigade with cold cascade quench my great love, I
I can't think why I'm not in better spirits. I am engaged to 2 noblemen at once. That ought to be enough to make any girl happy. But I'm miserable. And don't suppose it's 'cause I care for Strephon, for I hate him. No girl could care for a man who goes about with a mother considerably younger than himself.
Phyllis, my darling.
Phyllis, my own.
Don't! How dare you? Oh, but perhaps you're the 2 noblemen that I'm engaged to?
I am one of them.
And I am the other.
Oh, well then. My darling, my own. Have you decided which it's to be?
Not altogether. It's a difficult position. It would be hardly delicate to toss up. On the whole, we would rather leave it up to you.
How can it possibly concern me? You are both earls, and you're both rich, but you're both plain.
So we are. Well, at least I am.
So am I.
No, no.
Oh, I am indeed very plain.
Well, perhaps you are.
There's really nothing to choose between you. But if one of you would forego his title and distribute his wealth amongst his Irish gentry, then I should see a reason for accepting the other.
Toller, are you prepared to make this sacrifice?
No.
Well, not even to oblige a lady.
No. Not even to oblige a lady.
Then the only question is, which one of us will give way to the other? Perhaps, on the whole, she would be happier with me. Oh, but I don't know. I may be wrong.
No, I don't know that you are. But the awkward part about the thing is that if you were to rob me of the girl of my heart, then we must fight. And one of us must die. It's a family tradition that I have sworn to respect. It's a painful position, for I have a very strong regard for you, George.
My dear Thomas.
You are very dear to me, George. We were boys together. At least I was. If I were to outlast you, then my existence would be hopelessly embittered.
Well, then you must not do it. I will say it again and again. If it will have this effect on you, you must not do it. No, no. If one of us is to destroy the other, let it be me.
No, no.
Ah, yes. By our boyish friendship, I implore you.
Well, be it so. But no, I cannot consent to an act which would crush you with unfailing remorse.
But it would not do so. I should be very sad at first. Oh, who would not be? But it would wear off. I like you very much, Thomas, but not perhaps as much as you like me.
George, you're a noble fellow, but that telltale tear betrays you. No, George, you are very fond of me, and I cannot consent to give you a week's uneasiness on my account.
But, dear Thomas, it would not last a week.
Remember, you lead the House of Lords. On your demise, I should take your place. Oh, Thomas, it would not last a day.
I do hope you're not going to fight about me, because it really isn't worthwhile.
Well, I don't believe that it is.
Nor I. The sacred ties of friendship are paramount. Though perhaps I may incur your blame, the things a few I would not do in friendship's name. And I may say I think the same, not even love should rank above true friendship's name.
Then free me now, be mine, though blame. Forget your grace and go your ways in friendship's name. In friendship's name.
Oh, many a man in friendship's name has yielded fortune, rank, and fame, but no one yet in the world so wide has yielded up a promised bride.
Except of friendship, all the same.
This sacrifice to thy dear name. Accept this sacrifice to thy dear name.
Love, unrequited, robs me of my rest. Love, hopeless love, my ardent soul encumbers. Love, nightmare-like, lies heavy on my chest, and weaves itself into my midnight slumbers. When you're lying awake with a dismal headache and repose is tabooed by anxiety, I conceive you may use any language you choose to indulge in without impropriety. For your brain is on fire, your bedcoats conspire of usual slumber to plunder you. First your counter bingos and uncovers your toes, then your sheet slips demurely from under you. Then your blanketing tickles, it feels like mixed pickles, so terribly sharp is the pricking. And you're hot and you cross and you tumble and toss, there's nothing twixt you and the ticking. Then your bed around in a heap and you pick them all up in a tangle. Next your pillow resigns and politely declines to remain in its usual angle. You get some repose in the form of a dose without eyeballs and head ever aching. But your slumbering teams with horrible dreams, you'd very much better be waking. For you dream you are crossing the channel and tossing about in a steamer from Harwich, which is something between a large bathing machine and a very small second-class carriage. And you're giving a treat penny icing on meat to a party of friends and relations. They're a ravenous horde, and they all come on board at Soon's Square and South Kensington stations. And bound on your journey, you find your attorney who started that morning from Devon. He's a bit undersized, and you don't feel surprised when he tells you he's only 11. Well, you're driving like mad with this singular lad. By the by, the ship's now a four-wheeler. And you're playing round games, and he calls you bad names, and you tell him the ties pay the dealer. But this you can't stand, so you throw up your hand and you find you're as cold as an icicle. In your shirt and your socks, back certain old clocks crossing Salisbury Plain on a bicycle?
And he and the crew are on bicycles too, which have somehow or other invested in. And he's telling the tars of the particulars of the company he's interested in. It's a scheme of devices to get at low prices all goods from cough mixtures to cables, which tickled the sailors by treating retailers as though they were all vegetables. Well, you get a good spadesman to plant a small tradesman, first take off his boots with a boot tree, and his legs will take root, and his fingers will shoot till they blossom and bud like a fruit tree. From the greengrocer tree, you get grapes and green pea, cauliflower, pineapple, and cranberry. From the pastry cook plant, cherry brandy will grant, apple puffs and 3 corners and banberries. The shares are a penny, and ever so many are taken by Rothschild and Berry. And just as a few are allotted to you, you awake with a shudder despairing. You're a regular wreck with the crick in your neck. No wonder you snore for your head's on the floor. Your needles and pinch from the soles to your shins. Your flesh is a creep for your left leg's asleep. You cramp in your toes and a fly nose. So fluff in your lung and a feverish tongue. And a thirst is intense. And a general says that you haven't been sleeping in clover. But the darkness has passed, and it's daylight at last, and the night has been long, ditto, ditto, my song. And thank goodness they're both of them over.
I am much distressed to see your lordship in this condition.
Ah, my lords, it is indeed seldom that the Lord High Chancellor has reason to envy the position of another. But I am free to confess, I would rather be 2 earls engaged to Phyllis than any other half-dozen noblemen on the face of the globe.
Yes, it's an enviable position when you're the only one.
Oh, yes, no doubt most enviable. At the same time, seeing you thus, we naturally say to ourselves, this is very sad. His lordship is constitutionally as blithe as a bird. He trills upon the bench like a thing of song and gladness. His series of judgments in F-sharp minor, given Ardente in 6/8 time, are among the most remarkable effects ever produced in the court of Chancery. He is perhaps the only living instance of a judge whose decrees have received the honor of a double encore. How then can we do that which would deprive the court of Chancery of one of its most attractive features?
I feel the force of your remarks. But I am here in 2 capacities, and they clash, my lords, they clash. In declining to entertain my last application to myself, I presume to address myself in terms which should render it impossible ever to apply to myself again. It was a most painful scene, my lords, most painful.
This is what it is to have 2 capacities. Let us be thankful that we are persons of no capacity whatever.
Come, my lord. Remember, you are a very just and kindly old gentleman, and need have no hesitation in approaching us, so that you may do so respectfully and with a proper show of deference.
Do you really think so?
I do.
Well, I shall nerve myself to another effort, and if that fails, well, I resign myself to my fate.
If you go in, you're sure to win. Yours will be the charming maid. Be your law, the ancient saw. Faint heart never won, fair lady.
Never, 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 faint heart never won, fair lady. Nothing ventured as it meant, when at the worst affairs will mend. Dark the dawn when day is nigh. Hustle your horse and don't say die.
shies at such a price. He is not worth a murder, lady. Be so kind to bear in mind, faint heart never won fair lady.
Never, 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 faint heart never won fair lady. While the sun shines, make your hay. Where a will is, there's a way. Be the lion in his lair. None but the brave deserve the fair. I'll take heart and make a start, though I fear the prospect shady, but shall spend to gain my end. Faint hearts never won, fair lady. Never, 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 faint heart never won, fair lady. Nothing venture, nothing win. Blood is thick, but water's thin. In for a penny, in for a pound. It's love that makes the world go round. Nothing venture, nothing win. Blood is thick, but water's thin. In for a penny, in for a pound. It's love that makes the world go round. Nothing venture, nothing win. Blood is thick, but water's thin. In for a penny, in for a pound. It's love that makes the world go round. Nothing venture, nothing win. Blood is thick, but water's thin. In for a penny, in for a pound. It's love that makes the world go round.
I suppose one ought to enjoy oneself in Parliament when one leads both parties, as I do. But I'm miserable, poor broken-hearted fool that I am. Oh, Phyllis! Phyllis!
Yes?
Phyllis! But I suppose I should say, my lady. I've not yet been informed which title your ladyship has pleased to select.
I haven't quite decided yet. You see, I have no mother to advise me.
No, I have.
Yes, a young mother.
Not very. A couple centuries or so.
Oh, she wears it well.
She does. She's a fairy.
I beg your pardon. A what?
Oh, I've no longer any reason to conceal the fact. She's a fairy.
A fairy? A fairy. Fairy. A fairy! Oh, but that would account for many good things. Then I suppose you're a fairy?
I'm only half a fairy.
Which half?
The upper half, down to the waistcoat.
Dear me, there's nothing to show for it.
Don't do that.
But why didn't you tell me this before?
I thought you would take a dislike to me. But as it's all off, you may as well know the truth. I'm only half a mortal.
But I would rather have half a mortal I do love than half a dozen I don't.
Oh, I think not. Go to your half dozen.
It's only two. And I hate 'em. Please forgive me.
I don't think I ought to. All sorts of difficulties could arise. You know, my grandmother looks quite as young as my mother. So do all my aunts.
I quite understand. Whenever I see you kissing a very young lady, I shall know it's an elderly relative.
You will? Then Phyllis, I think, will be very happy.
And we won't wait long?
No, we might change our minds. We'll get married first.
And change our minds afterwards?
That's the usual course. If a week enough to tarry ere we marry, you and I, of the feeling I inspire, you may tire by and by. For peers with flowing coffers press their offers, that is why I am sure we should not tarry ere we marry, you and I.
If a week enough to tarry ere we marry, you and I,
weak enough to tarry ere we marry you and I. Of the feeling I inspire, you may tire by and by. Of the feeling I inspire, you may tire by and by. If we're weak enough to tarry ere we marry you and I. Of the feeling I inspire, you may tire by and by. So I think we will not tarry ere we marry you and I. You and I. You and I.
Does your mother know is she aware of our engagement?
She is, and thus she welcomes her daughter-in-law.
She kisses just like other people. But the Lord Chancellor?
I've forgotten. Mother, none can resist your fairy eloquence. You will go to him and plead for us?
No, impossible.
But our happiness, our very lives depend on our obtaining his consent.
Oh, madame, you cannot refuse to do this.
You know not what you ask. The Lord Chancellor is my husband.
Your husband?
My husband. And your father.
Then our course is plain. On his learning that Strephon is his son, all objections to our marriage will be at once removed.
Nay, he must never know. He believes me to have died childless. And dearly as I love him, I am bound under penalty of death not to deceive him. But see, he comes. Quick, my veil.
Victory! Victory! Success has crowned my efforts. I may consider myself engaged to Phyllis. At first, I wouldn't hear of it. 'Twas out of the question. But I took heart. I pointed out to myself that I was no stranger to myself. In fact, I had been personally acquainted with myself for some time. This had its effect. I admitted that I'd watched my professional advancement with considerable interest, and, I handsomely added, I yielded to no one in admiration of my private and professional virtues. This was a great point gained. I then endeavored to work upon my feelings. Conceive my joy when I perceived a tear glistening in my own eye. Eventually, after a severe struggle with myself, I reluctantly, most reluctantly, consented.
My lord, a suppliant at your feet, I kneel. Oh, listen to a mother's fond appeal. Hear me tonight, I come in urgent need. 'Tis for my son, young Strephon, that I plead. He loves, if in the bygone years thine eyes have ever shed tears, bitter
it may not be, for so the fates decide. Learn thou that Phyllis is my promised bride.
No, no.
It shall be so. Those who would separate us woe betide.
My doom, thy lips have spoken, I plead in vain. Forbear, forbear. A vow already broken, I break again. Forbear, forbear. For him, for her, for thee, I yield my life. Behold, it may not be.
Iolanthe, thou livest.
I live. Now let me die. When thy vows are broken, thou thyself thy doom hast spoken.
For she has sinned, so have we all.
What?
We are all very duchesses, marchionesses, countesses, viscountesses, and baronesses.
It's our fault. They couldn't help themselves.
It seems they have helped themselves. And pretty freely, too. You have all incurred death upon you. But I can't slaughter the whole company. And yet, the law is clear. Every fairy must die who marries a mortal.
May I make a suggestion as an old equity draftsman? The subtleties of the legal mind are equal to the emergency. The thing is really quite simple. The insertion of one word will do it. Let it stand that every fairy must die who doesn't marry a mortal. And there you are, out of your difficulty at once.
We like your humor. Very well. Oh, Private Willis.
Ma'am?
To save my life, it is necessary that I marry at once. How would you like to be a fairy guardsman?
Well, ma'am, I don't think much of the British soldier wouldn't inconvenience himself to save a certain female in distress.
You are a brave fellow. You are a fairy from this moment. And you, my lords, How say you? Will you join our ranks?
Well, if the peers are to be recruited entirely of people of intelligence, I don't really see what use we are down here. Do you, Tolliver?
None whatsoever.
Good. Then away we go to fairyland. Soon as we may, off and away, we'll commence our journey. Here happy are we, as you can see. Everyone is now a fairy. Everyone is now a fairy. And though as a general rule we know, 2 strings go to every bow. Make up your minds and dream to bring, if you to bow to every string. Though as a general rule we know, 2 strings go to every bow. Make up your minds and dream to bring, if you to bow to every string.
Up in the sky, ever so high, pleasure comes in endless series. We will arrange happy exchange, house of peers for house of peeries, 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 house of peers for house of peeries. Up in the air, sky high, free from boats and chance.